Welcome back. Today, we're digging into Kraft's Heinz's latest results because something really weird happened. On the surface, the news looked pretty good, but the stock, well, it immediately tanked. So we're going to figure out what hidden story the market was really reacting to. So check this out. Here's the puzzle. When Kraft Heinz reported their Q3 earnings, the big headline was that they beat profit expectations. Sounds great, right? But Wall Street saw something completely different. The stock just nosedived, dropping almost 5%. So you've got to ask yourself, what's going on here? Why the huge disconnect? What did the professional investors see that the headlines totally missed? Well, the answer, as it usually is buried deep inside the numbers. All right, to figure this out, we need to look under the hood. We're going to peel back all the accounting layers and get to the core story of how the business is actually doing. Okay, first things first. You see that giant gap number on the left? The one that says income is up over 1,000%? You can just throw it out. Seriously, it's basically accounting noise from a weird one-time thing last year. The real number, the one that tells you what's actually happening, is on the right. And it shows that their income actually fell. And not by a little. We're talking a steep drop of almost 17%. And here's the first major red flag for us. Their organic sales, which is just a fancy way of saying sales from their core business without any funny stuff like acquisitions, they fell by 2.5%. This is probably the clearest signal we've gotten that shoppers are finally starting to cut back. But it's not just that sales fell. It's how they fell. And this is what really sent a chill through the market. And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? For the last couple of years, Kraft Heinz's main playbook was just to raise prices to cover their costs. Well, that playbook is officially over. They barely nudged prices up by 1%, and look what happened. People bought way less stuff, a massive 3.5% drop in volume. That strategy has totally hit a brick wall. And this volume problem, it was an absolute disaster in their biggest, most important market, North America. I mean, we're talking about 3/4 of their entire business. Here, volumes didn't just dip, they plunged by over 4%. Now, management is blaming a tough consumer, but wow, those numbers are rough. But wait, the story has a twist, because it's not all bad news. Believe it or not, even with the core business of selling mac and cheese struggling, there was one undeniable, really bright spot hiding in the report. And this is the great paradox of Kraft Heinz right now. It's kind of weird. We just saw that their profits are falling hard, but the actual cash they're generating, it's surging. It's up over 23% for the year. So how is that even possible? How can you be less profitable but be swimming in more cash? Well, the answer isn't that they're selling more ketchup, that's for sure. It's all coming from incredible financial discipline. They're basically squeezing their own operations for cash. They're holding less inventory, they're taking longer to pay their suppliers, they're spending less on new equipment. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a sign of really sharp management. But it's not a growth strategy. You can only squeeze that lemon for so long, you know? So, with the day-to-day business kind of stuck in the mud, management is looking ahead. What's their big idea for the future? Well, they're planning a pretty massive strategic shakeup. The big plan is to literally split Kraft Heinz into two separate companies. This is slated for 2026, and the official story is that creating two smaller, more focused companies will make them stronger and ultimately unlock more value for shareholders. But here's the catch. You know how you often hear about these good company/bad company splits, where they separate the exciting, high-growth part of the business? Yeah, that doesn't seem to be what's happening here. When you look at the numbers, both of the new proposed companies, well, they both saw their sales decline in the third quarter. It feels less like separating a winner from a loser and more like a hope that two struggling companies can just perform better on their own. Okay, so let's tie all of this together. We've got operational weakness but surprising cash strength, and this giant plan to split the company up. What does all of this mean for investors, especially when it comes to the dividend? And remember that strong cash flow we talked about? This is where it becomes absolutely critical for investors. That cash is what's allowing the company to keep rewarding shareholders. They've returned $1.8 billion so far this year in dividends and buybacks. So that dividend, it's safe, for now. It's being protected by this big cash buffer. But, and this is a really big bite, looking ahead, the company sent a very clear warning shot.
They basically slashed their forecast for the rest of the year on every single important profit metric. Sales, income, earnings, all expected to be worse than they thought. The only thing they revised upward, you guessed it, their ability to keep squeezing cash out of the balance sheet.
So really, the crucial point here is that Kraft Heinz is a company defined by this powerful internal conflict. It's almost like it has two different engines running at the same time, pulling in opposite directions. On the one hand, you've got the P&L engine, the actual business of making and selling food, and it's clearly sputtering. But on the other hand, you've got the balance sheet engine, the sharp financial management, and that thing is running in high gear, generating all this cash that provides a cushion and, importantly, funds that dividend. And this leaves us with the ultimate question. That financial strength is buying the company time, but it's not a permanent solution. For that dividend to be safe in the long run, and for the stock to do well, the operational engine has to restart. So the big question is, which of these two forces is going to win out in the end?